Welcome to the Girls and Ghosts podcast.
I'm Shauna.
And I'm Lexie.
And on today's episode, we are going to be reading some more ghost stories that we have found on Reddit. We enjoyed the first time that we did this, which was our first episode, so we thought we'll do it again. Let's just head straight on into our first story, which is called My Imaginary Friend Was Not Imaginary.
Already sounds creepy.
Already sounds creepy enough. One night, my dad could hear me speaking loudly, so he came to check on me. I was 6 or 7. He found me at the end of the bed talking to absolutely no one. When he turned the light on, I got startled and leaped under the covers. He asked who I was talking to, but I didn't want to say. I had been talking to my imaginary friend. He had asked me to please not tell anyone about him because he didn't want to leave. I remember clearly seeing him, a blonde kid with green eyes who told me his name was Y. I tried to be quiet because I didn't want my dad to come back. Once I got caught again, I started keeping a diary where I would communicate by writing my questions and answers so nobody could hear me. Y told me some horrible things about his parents and how they were a part of something really bad. He told me that if I looked through the socket in the kitchen above the oven, I would see where they put the ones they helped harm. So I did. My dad walked in on me as I literally looking through the socket and saw stained glass, like what you would see in a church or something. He asked me what I was doing, and I got really scared and told him what I saw. He looked at and saw nothing. He reassured me nothing was in the wall. He later found my diary and it was disturbing. He started asking questions about why and telling me that I didn't have to be afraid of telling the truth, so I told him. Why told me that the bodies are under the house. My dad was genuinely terrified, so he started to research our property. Turns out our home was built over a church graveyard during the Second World War. I never saw or heard from Y again. Oh my goodness, that is terrifying.
That is insane, but also why is he reading the diary?
Well, he's reading the diary because his 6 or 7-year-old child is acting strange.
How can a 6 and 7-year-old or 7-year-old write that well?
Well, I suppose it wouldn't be well communicated writing. It's just the 6 or 7-year-old was writing the questions that they had for Y, which is the imaginary friend.
Oh.
It wasn't specifically said that it was good writing, was it? I'm just a little bit scared for the fact of the child was talking. Well, the child is obviously the person writing this, but the child at the time was talking to an imaginary friend, which obviously wasn't an imaginary friend. And then it turns out that it was actually built on a church graveyard in the Second World War, meaning that Y must have been someone from obviously that graveyard.
Yeah.
I just want to know, why tell a 6 or 7-year-old about the bodies under the house?
Yeah, that is insane.
I mean, obviously it was the spirit's way of telling them the history.
Yeah. Also, why did the spirit disappear after
Yeah, I get it. It's like they wanted to let them know that the house was built on top of a church graveyard, and then it's like, okay, now that you know the truth, I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was the fact of...
Well, they said don't tell anyone.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So maybe it was the fact of they was telling the 6 or 7-year-old, and then once the father found out, it's like, oh no, secrets are out, and so it just never came back. But then again, I just don't see why it's such a big secret. I just wonder if the spirit...
Well, they said the parents are in something bad.
Oh yeah, good point. I would like to know if the spirit is maybe from the Second World War, or is it just someone that's in the graveyard, from the church?
I'm not sure.
Because that would be...
Yeah, you know what's creepy?
Huh?
That reminds me of an EMF meter.
What, the mic stuff?
Yeah, because it goes green, yellow, red, and so does an EMF meter. And it flicks. Oh no, sorry, my bad.
That was so random. But yeah, I would be terrified if I had a child that, I found out that was communicating with something that wasn't there. Yeah. Or what they call an imaginary friend. But that is quite popular, obviously, because children can see spirits more often than what adults can. So it obviously makes sense that the child knew about it.
Yeah.
But a diary with the questions. Imagine being a parent.
How would they find out banter? Because yet again, if the spirit was writing, yet again, how we did, I don't remember which episode, but an episode was can the spirit write?
I think with this one, if I remember correctly from reading the story the child was writing the questions into the diary, and then the spirit would say it. It was just so that no one heard Yeah.
Wait, is it a girl?
I think so.
Okay.
But yeah, it was just so that no one heard the child speaking, because the father had already heard them speaking once
Oh.
and like brushed it off, thinking, "Oh, it's nothing, imaginary friend."
Yeah.
But then obviously it started to happen more and more, and that's when it was like, okay, this is weird.
Mm.
Okay, on to the next story. This one is called "I Don't Like the Dark." Okay, this one's
Are you
interesting.
afraid of the dark?
Am I afraid of the dark? No.
I used to be, but not anymore.
I used to be when I was younger, but now I don't mind the dark. It depends. Like, naturally, like in the house dark, going to sleep dark, I don't care. If I'm like outside at night time, I don't like it. But that could just be anxiety. It might not be afraid of the dark. So this one says, this experience happened last night when I had to go check on our rental property about an hour away. My wife got a notification at about 10 p.m. that there was movement detected from the cameras we set up in the rental property to keep an eye on the place until we can get it rented. My wife asked if I could go over to make sure everything was okay and locked up. I told her to text me if any notifications came through. I pulled up at around 11:30 and came to see there's lights coming from the basement. Already on edge, I walk around the outside and check windows and doors. All are shut and locked. My wife called me and asked if I had gone inside yet because she had another movement detected in one of the bedrooms. I told her I was just unlocking the door to go check inside, but really didn't want to. Maybe the camera detected me outside the window. I just said this to make myself feel better, and I opened the door and yell out, "Anyone is here?" I already called the police and they will be here very shortly. I listen for anyone moving around, but I hear nothing. I check all the room and find nothing, so I head down to the basement to at least turn off the light. I walk into the basement and see the cord of the light swinging, but only that light. Alright, okay. There's no air movement. I do a really quick search and check for anyone hiding before I turn the light on my phone and pull the cord. I move. The moment it turns off, I hear a loud bang upstairs. I run up the stairs to get out of the basement quickly. The basement stairs are right next to the front door. I go out the door and start shutting it. I hear a voice come from the basement. "I don't like the dark. Please stay." No! Oh my goodness. I hopped back in my vehicle and turned it on. As I pulled down the drive, I see the basement turn back on. Oh, the light, I'm guessing. I called my wife and tell her I'm on my way home. She said she got another movement detected message right as I called her. No way. The light, fine. The cord moving, okay. But if I heard a voice saying, "I'm scared of the dark, please stay."
How clear was it?
I don't know, I don't care. Well, obviously very clear because they have a full-on, like they heard them. So it must have been really clear. No. And from the basement, it just makes it so much more worse than if it was like anywhere else in the house.
I'm so glad we don't own a basement.
No wonder, like, it's always the basements that have like the most creepiest stories.
Yeah.
And is it because it's like the lowest floor, so like the one that's closest to the ground?
What's the ground got to do with anything?
Well, the ground. Have you never heard that saying of like the grounds are like the most haunted? I don't know the actual saying, but it's like there's a lot of history for the ground, like pavements and all that stuff, because it goes through a lot. It's been there a long time. So I don't know. That's just my thought process with basements, but no. Like I said, lights turning on, fine.
Also, if you think about it, a basement is in the ground. Because you can see the first floor outside, but you can't see the basement outside. Yeah. So it is underground.
Exactly. So maybe that's why. But like I said, lights turning on, that's okay. Terrifying. Okay. Cord swinging, fine. You could make up something in your head. The wind. I don't know if it is just me, but when I first read "I don't like the dark, please stay," I imagined it as a child's voice. Because that just seems like something that a child would say.
Yeah. Would you want to experience that? We're having this conversation again.
I was about to say, what type of question is that? You always ask me silly questions. No, I wouldn't want to experience that.
I would.
You would want to experience someone saying, "Please don't go.
Well, yeah,
I'm scared of the dark, please stay."
Yeah, but then I'll feel bad, so then I would stay. Because I'm just, one, stupid like that, but two, I like feel bad.
No, I'd feel bad, and a part of me would want to stay, but a bigger part of me would want to run. Like, I'm out of there. I would do what he did. I would leave. Like I said, a little part of me would feel bad and I'd want to stay.
But would you invite the spirit to come inside?
What?
Would you invite the spirit to come inside?
Would I? No. Why would I do that? Why would I purposely? No. Well, they're already inside, aren't they?
No, but wasn't that outside?
No.
Was it the basement?
It was the basement and in one of the bedrooms. It was in the house. He was outside when the wife messaged him saying that she just got a
Right.
detection of inside.
Okay, right. So ignore the question I just asked about asking it to come inside.
I don't think anyone would do that.
You know what I'll do? I'll turn on the light so it's no longer dark, and then I'll run upstairs.
Yeah. I don't think so. Someone commented on that saying spooky. Well, I'd definitely call the police to investigate while you're there to determine if there is a corrupil, live person involved. Otherwise, get a priest to bless the place and do a sage. See, that is the thing, because he didn't check one of the bedrooms. So could it be someone? Although, like I said, I don't like the fact that it said please stay. I can't imagine a human breaking in would say that. Please stay.
Yeah, like, why would they want that?
This one is just called Childhood Room. And that's all we've got. So this is going to be interesting. My childhood room was a renovated, once creepy old spare room. I was mortified to enter before it was renovated, even after it was. I never felt safe there, and weirdest thing was I used to sleepwalk every night for years from my top bunk to the side of my parents' bed and fall always around 3 a.m. The closet was the worst part. It always felt a little bit more darker in there, if that makes sense. This became a habit, and my dad got concerned. One night I just felt like I couldn't be in my room. It was around 11:30 p.m. and my dad was still up watching TV in the living room, so I stood up and walked towards my parents' room. My dad caught me walking towards their room and said my name, followed by, "You need to face your fear, son. Get back to bed," and made me go back to my room. As I laid on the bottom bunk, vibrating in an unexplainable fear, I saw a darkness, darker than dark room around me, encapsulate the area around me. I tried to sleep, but after shutting my eyes, I felt a forceful arm extend across me, almost as though an adult sleeping person unconsciously extended their arm over me. I began to panic and ran into the hall. My parents immediately comforted me, and my dad was frozen in fear. I could tell he believed me, just the way he looked at me while I explained it to him. Later in life, I would have what I can only describe as waking dreams, moments I would sleep with my eyes open. I still do time to time. It's an otherworldly voice that says what may potentially happen and exactly what to do if it does happen. Every time I follow what it says, good things happen. I used to experiment and disobey purposely, only to have slightly bad things happen. Nothing major, more inconveniences. Anyway, I used to tell my dad, don't take this road or don't leave the house because I see something bad happen. And after that night, he began to believe me and follow exactly what I say. Me and my dad have never openly discussed this. More of an understanding now. I live on a different continent than him, and I doubt we'll never probably even acknowledge this again, just a weird memory. It kind of sounds like this person writing this story might be some type of like psychic.
Yeah.
Because he has like this feeling and he's always correct about it.
Yeah.
And if he purposely goes against it, something bad happens. And him like telling his dad like, don't go down this road, don't go here because this is gonna happen. But also the fact that he would lie in bed and feel an arm like wrap around him. No.
That's crazy.
I think
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I think it's outside.
Okay.
Wow, we've like switched because I did that in one of the episodes, didn't I?
Did you? Oh yeah, you did.
Yeah. The ghost hunting one, I was really on edge, so like noises outside would terrify me. But anyway, back to this story. Yeah, it kind of sounds like he might be a psychic.
Yeah, it does.
And I find it interesting how the dad believes him straight away. Kind of like the dad has had some type of like experience himself at that point, because he believed him straight away, and he said that he looked at his dad's face and he could just tell that he believed him.
Yeah, but don't forget, like, he doesn't necessarily have to like experience something as well. Like, you could just like tell if your child's telling the truth.
Well, yeah, I suppose you'd know by how your child's reacting, like by how afraid they are. And because he was always going to the parents' room every night, it's kind of like, well, something must be going on, because why else would he be acting like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. This one is called The Night L.A. Llorona Tried to Enter. Shut up. What?
I've heard of that.
You've heard of that? What is it?
Read it.
I don't want to anymore.
Read it.
Okay. The following is a real account of our experience in the rural coffee region of Colombia over the last several months. This all began in January, and it has taken us very recently to uncover the full extent to the localized version of the legend surrounding La Llorona. Am I saying that right?
Yes,
I think so.
I think you are.
And piece together the experiences we have been having. We are thoroughly freaked out.
Right, Shauna.
What?
Have you watched Sam and Colby's video?
Well, I've watched them all. So what one?
Yes. The one where they went to Doll Island.
Oh yeah.
No, was it Doll Island? No, it wasn't Doll Island. Was it? I don't know. The one where they did that little ritual going La Llorona.
Oh no, I don't want to read this anymore.
Read it.
I don't want to anymore.
Now she knows.
Yeah, we had just moved into a house in secluded Finsta. There's some very hard words in here, so if
Which one?
my reading is not right, then I'm sorry.
Oh.
Tucked into the hills near Rio Espojo. Again, sorry if I said that wrong. Where the trees drip mist and the river never sleeps. It was kind of place you imagine as peaceful, fertile, a place to start again. My partner was 4 months pregnant, and we were excited but cautious, still adjusting to the rhythms of their land and the quiet. It started in the first week. Late at night, while we slept upstairs, her mother, brother, and sister, who were staying with us at the time, began to hear something, a voice, a woman's voice, faint but urgent, floating in from just beyond the house. Help me. It didn't come every night, but it came enough. First once, then again, and by the second week they heard it 3 times, always around midnight to 3 a.m. Always when the night was heavy with fog and the river hummed louder than usual. They said it wasn't a scream, it wasn't loud, it was worse than that, it was soft, pained, and human. At first they thought it was my partner calling for help from upstairs. After assuring them it wasn't her, they would look outside thinking maybe someone was lost, maybe her, but there was never anyone there. The trees stood still, the night kept breathing, the voice faded away. Then came the second week. That night my partner began to have sudden severe pain, cramping that felt like contractions. We were terrified. It was far too early for labour. We didn't know what to do. We were upstairs focused completely on her, and for reasons I still can't explain, we didn't have our phones with us. They were downstairs forgotten in the rush of fear. We thought we had ridden it out. By morning the pain had eased. We were exhausted but relieved, until we spoke to the security guard at the front gate of our conjunto residential. He asked us what had happened the night before. We said nothing. Why? And he had told us. An ambulance came to your house around 1 a.m. Someone called from here, from your property, said there was a woman in distress, but we hadn't called. No one in the house had. And yet the ambulance arrived, lights flashing, knocking at the gate because we didn't answer his call. The security guard refused to let them enter. After waiting, they turned around and left confused. We were stunned. That same night, the voice had been heard again by her family, close to this time, almost under the window. Again. Are you a dame? Sorry if I said that wrong.
A different language.
A different language. It wasn't until we started asking around recently, neighbours, guards, even the older people in the nearby town, that we began to understand and put all of the pieces together. We were told very plainly, that's La Llorona. You live near the river now. Pregnant women, crying children, and pain draw her in like blood in the water. But what's more terrifying to us is that here, in this part of Quindio, especially near Rio Espujo and La Tipedas, again, sorry if I mispronounced, the stories go deeper. She doesn't just cry by rivers anymore. She doesn't just appear in white veils. They say La Llorona has learnt how to use the modern world. Oh yeah, sorry. Can I just say I'm recognising the story now?
Yeah.
And I don't like it at all. But I'm going to continue reading. There are stories of phones ringing and no one on the other end but weeping, baby monitors catching whispers, emergency services receiving calls from homes where no one made them, and just like us, ambulances showing up to rural houses in the night, responding to a cry for help that no human ever gave. Some believe she's just a spirit
She's not just a spirit anymore.
Some believe she's not just a spirit anymore, she's a pattern of force that clings to sorrow and technology alike, a kind of ghost intelligence using whatever tools she can get past the walls of her home to be let in. And they say if you respond to her voice, if you open the door, even out of kindness or confusion, you give her permission to enter. We didn't hear her that night, we didn't open the door, but she tried. And maybe because we didn't answer, our baby is still safe, at least for now. Our daughter is 6 weeks older now, and is still trying to get and she's still trying to get in. At least now we know what we were up against, and we can't wait to move away from the river. Oh my goodness, they sound like they've been through a lot.
That is also insane, considering she is known for wanting the children.
Yeah. And I find it funny how I didn't like recognize the name, and the further I got into reading, the more I was like,
You're
oh
like,
wait, yep,
yeah.
I know this.
See, but as soon as you said like the title, I was like, yep, I know. I
didn't click on until it said she doesn't just cry by rivers anymore. She doesn't just appear in white veils. Like, I'll recognize that. And yeah, the stories of La Llorona.
La Llorona.
Yeah, is phones ringing and no one other on the other end. Wait, phones ringing and no one on the other end but weeping. Imagine answering your phone and that's all you hear.
Would you want to experience that?
Oh, stop asking me strange questions like that. No, I wouldn't want to experience that. Who would want to experience that? Who choose you?
Me.
Who would choose to just want to answer the phone and hear weeping? No, thank you.
I would.
No. There's been so many stories now that like I know what this is. I've heard so many stories of like people like driving by or like walking by and they can just hear it from like a distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't like that. And people were like mistaking it for like animals and stuff. Well, some people assume it's animals, and then some people who know about this assume that it's obviously that. So there's like loads of different stories about it. And then baby monitors catching whispers. Again, that happens too often.
It does, yeah.
Baby monitors actually scare me. I won't lie. Only because they can be hacked and like loads of different things can happen through them. Like, I've watched a video where there's been loads of experiences through baby monitors.
I'm never going to get a baby monitor now.
Good job you don't need one right now then.
Well, no. I mean, for like, okay.
I mean, have you seen that video where through a baby monitor the mother saw her baby like climb onto the edge of the crib and then get pushed over?
No, I haven't seen that.
Have you not?
I don't think so. I probably have actually.
Yeah,
but
like the baby actually like climbed onto the edge of the crib, so you can tell that something's holding this baby up, because the baby can't just stand on the crib by itself on the edge and then get pushed over.
Who's that mean to push a baby over?
After we've finished this,
that makes me sad.
I know. After we finish this, if you put into YouTube baby monitors experiences or whatever, you'd probably find it, because it's quite a popular one. But yeah, so many things happen over baby monitors. And then I wonder why the emergency services always get calls then. The ambulance arrived, and that is a popular experience to do with La Llorona. Do you know?
Why would I know?
Because you seem to know more about it. I don't know.
I don't really know, but see, isn't that weird though? Because she wants to like, well, what people think is that she wants to harm, you know, the thing, like the things, but then she calls the emergency services, so that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, she wants to harm them, but then calls the emergency services.
Exactly. Like, that doesn't make sense, but you know.
Okay, next story is called My Stories from Vale or Schools. So we've covered Wyatt, the greenhouse, and the White House. I promised that I would tell you about the Vale or schools. I'm going to guess they have told other stories before. To be clear, I was only in grade school in Vale, middle school was in Nysa, or the high school was in Ontario. Or be that as it may, my brothers were both in middle school in Vale, so I do have personal stories from there. Let's start, however, with my experience in Vale's grade school. I was already 8 when we moved to Vale from North Carolina, so I was starting out in 3rd grade. My first time ever entering the school was in shock. I'm guessing it would have been for anyone who walked into their first day of school and saw burn victims. Oh my goodness, what? Okay. Only I could see them. My older brother is only a year older than I, and I asked him if he could see them. He thought I was losing my mind. He told me that the school was not the place to even think about such things. Wait, so you're telling me they saw burn victims but they weren't really there? Okay. I can't say that he was wrong, but it was hard for me not to notice them back then. Me being me, I befriended the school librarian. One day I asked her about the history of the school. Yes, I'm a history nerd. She told me that the high school used to be the grade middle school, and the grade school we were in, I hadn't been there. So curious like me, I asked about what had been there before. Apparently, the land on which the grade school now stood had been the small hospital way back when. It had been closed down after a horrific fire. Now I don't know how true that is, but I saw a lot of burn victims in and around the school. That's just it though. I didn't see any doctors or nurses, just burn victims, so whatever was there before had burnt to the ground at some point. The worst part about any of this was seeing a burn victim walk through the walls, a teacher or even one of the classmates. I tried very hard to ignore them, and I was doing a great job of it until one of the scariest ones, noticed me watching them. He was not nice. Every day when I would get to school, he would be there waiting for me. He would follow me around and try and get me to talk to him. At this point, I knew better than to talk to any of them when I was out in public. It was right after Christmas break when he started to try and move things around me and screaming at me. I was terrified of going to school, and my mum didn't understand why I didn't want to go. I would happily admit that I loved school, but I was terrified of the burnt man following me around. Now, at this time, my family was kind of Christian. We didn't really go to church or anything like that, but we did pray and what have you. So one night, after a particularly scary day, I prayed that someone would come protect me from this evil, in my mind, man. From then on, I would catch glimpses of someone or something keeping the other ghosts away from me. It wasn't until middle/high school that I realised that it was the soldier who had saved me when I was 5. Wyatt had made his return. I didn't know it yet and was able to mostly block the ghosts that I saw. I would still see them, hear them, and sometimes even smell them, but it got a little easier to ignore them. I had it almost fully under control by middle school. Ghosts are tricky things to deal with, let alone see, hear, and smell, so sometimes I would slip and accidentally interact with one, thus dubbing me a freaking outcast. Not many kids wanted to be seen hanging out with me, so Vale grade school was very lonely for me. That is a wild story.
That sounds like another psychic
Yeah.
type of situation.
Well, yeah, because obviously no one else are seeing these burn victims except for her, but then again, they are in, is it middle school or grade school, so they are a child. But then other children should be able to see them. And they're not.
Yeah, so it sounds like another psychic situation, but like, especially because, is it a she?
I think so.
Okay, especially because she sees it every time, like every day.
Yeah. And I would like to know why, well, obviously because they was evil, but she was being followed around by this one ghost man. And it's like, why would you follow a student around?
Exactly.
To be evil. Like, that's kind of creepy, I'm not gonna lie. So, yeah, but then I'm going to guess this person has told stories on Reddit before, because they mention this Wyatt, who seems to be someone protecting them. And so they start to protect them from the ghosts that are in the school. I just find it interesting how she walks in and see all these burn victims. Obviously, no one else is seeing them. And then she asks the librarian history, and it turns out that it used to be an old hospital on those grounds that did burn down.
Yes. Question. How do, like, other spirits stop other spirits from, like, getting close to a person who's living?
I don't know. I suppose it's just the fact that, like, they're always there. So it's like, that's the protection. Unless this Wyatt is some type of, like, guardian angel, and then I'm going to guess they have more power over an evil person.
Yeah, but then how do they stop it?
I don't know. I've never been dead before. I've never been a ghost. But yeah, that's what I'm guessing. I'm going to guess just their presence being there, because I'm going to guess that the protection is just their presence being there, and that's the protection. Obviously, the evil man can't do anything to her if the other ghost is there. I don't know too much about it, to be fair. That's just what I'm going to assume. Okay, next question is called Red Eyes and Black Mass Shadow. This one sounds terrifying. When I was 9 years old, I was awake most nights because I couldn't stop hearing the sounds of kids laughing and running outside. By that point, it became the usual to me and parents, but whenever we checked through the windows, there weren't any kids outside. But that's only part of what the traumatizing experience I had. Aside from the ghosts, kids, but the real horrifying part is on this one specific night, I was awake expecting the sound of kids laughing and running. That wasn't a sound. I thought it was weird, although it felt nice now, not fearing them. But just to make sure, I sat up on my bed and looked through the window. And I'll say this right now, me and my family lived in an apartment with the parking lot right in front, so the window was facing the parking lot. And what I saw was a tall black mass without a form with red eyes, and I was scared. It stared back and started to move on the vehicle, disorientated, and was closing in on me until I back away from the window and closed the curtains. I was shaken in fear. I screamed and my dad woke up and said, "Stop screaming," and I told him. I saw something outside. I checked again and it was gone. I don't know what it was. Pretty sure ghosts don't have red glowing eyes. I wasn't in sleep paralysis, so I was able to move and I was awake and I remember it. It's an experience that still chills me to my core. Currently I'm 22, but that happened years ago. What could that have been? Because, yeah, spirits don't normally have red eyes. Unless it's something evil. You know, that one word. I don't like to say that word.
Which word? Oh.
I don't like to speak it into existence.
Why?
It's just a bit scary.
You want me to say? Because I'm not
Devil.
scared.
No, I'll say it, devil. Unless it's something like
The devil.
the devil. Because I believe that the devil has red eyes, right? I could be wrong, I don't know. I really don't
Does
know.
anyone know?
I don't think so, but I think that's just the assumption, isn't it?
Like when you picture the devil or like draw,
Yeah.
like they was make them. Oh my god,
Whoa.
that was a crazy thing. They was make it have.
But in the parking lot, like, why was it just in the parking lot?
Maybe it was after her.
And she was hearing kids. She was hearing kids previously, like, sounding like playing, laughing. That night, she doesn't hear it. She checks, and that's what's in the parking lot. Doesn't that just prove it might be, like, something evil?
Yes, because I don't know if you've noticed, but like everything that's like more demonic
Yeah.
always tries to make it sound like kids or
Yes.
show itself as a kid.
It does, yeah. I think it's because people have more of a heart for kids, if you know what if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, people are most likely to stay if it's a child.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, you need my help type thing.
Yeah.
Or it could be the fact that it was ghost kids playing, and then they've arrived, like, since demonics arrived, and it's like,
Going away. Also, don't forget, it's also because, like, yeah, it's like, oh, like, they have more of a heart for it. But also, even, you know how, like, it could be, like, a random kid that's, I'm talking, like, a live kids right now, yeah?
yeah,
Like, even if it's just a random stranger, kid, you're still, like, a mother mode.
yeah,
So, like, I feel like that's the same for ghosts. I don't know if it's just...
yeah, 100%. As a human, you always have that motherly instinct, so
Yeah.
it would be the same for, like, a ghost
Yeah.
child, if you know what I mean. It's just like a natural reaction. Okay, this will be the final story that we read for today's episode, and it's called My Demons Have Been Passed Down to My Son, Part 1 and 2. What a great last story. Okay, let's head on into it. I started to type this out for a group that shared scary fictional stories, but I swear that this all happened. While I've been typing this out, it's ignited my desire to know what I might be dealing with. The problem is that my son has been dealing with some of it recently. I thought that this was all in my past until he told us about the funny melting man. Maybe I've always been insane and it's simply as simple as that. I've asked myself that before, and I've wondered if it was generational. It's been passed down through the family that in weeks before a family member died, they will see children running and laughing through their house. And my grandfather spoke with them at his bedside a few years ago, and the day before he passed. It was almost as if he didn't see us anymore, only the children who surrounded him. When I was 4 years old, I used to see blurry figures dart around the corners of my home. When I asked my mother about them, she told me that they were my guardian angels watching over me. I wasn't so scared of them after that, at least not while they were the blurred silhouettes. I saw them for a year every day. The problem started when I started to see them at night. During the day, the silhouettes stood as blurry obstacles, just slightly distorted light that flowed through them. But at night, they distorted the dark. It's a hard thing to explain, but you stood in the dark room with another person just in front of you. As your eyes adjust, you will soon see their figure. No details, despite being able to feel their breath. the warmth of them, and the simple silhouette. He was just like that. Well, if you replace feeling their breath with your presence sucking the air out from your lungs, if instead of the warmth of a human you have an absolute cold of a nothingness like an Arctic night without wind, if instead of a simple silhouette you had a silhouette in a small amount of light creating an outline of a person, even in the dark. This was not that. It was a figure that consumed the light around it. Its border was never crisp in those late nights. When I was 5 years old, it was large and vaguely resembled a man, but the edges of the silhouette poured out what little light remained in my small room. He was the void that wondered, my guardian angel who never left my bedside and receded into the darkness corners of the sun world that would rise. I'll never forget the first night that we met. He did not speak, he did not touch me, he came from the far right corner of my room. He emerged from the walls. I write this to you knowing that you likely won't believe me, but even at the age of 37, who could I tell that would? But he came from the walls and paced my room. The only sound was a low growl as it emerged. He paced my room for a moment and I sat up in my bed. Panicked, I threw my back against my wall. I'm not sure if that was the first night it came to me. Maybe he had been watching me every night for some time. He didn't like that I noticed him, though. He sprinted at me as I sat on my bed in the opposing corner, and he hit the edge of the bed with force, and he fell. He couldn't get onto the bed, as if an invisible wall stood at its boundary. I screamed with every bit of air that I had in my lungs, with all the force that my body would allow. My lips only released a whimper. I couldn't scream, I couldn't speak, I could only whisper and whimper as the figure repeatedly charged. I remember asking it why as I cried. It then stood slowly. It was at least 6.5 feet tall. My bedroom window was at the wall of the right. I should have been able to make out details, but I swear to you that no matter how much I strained, it was the silhouette of a void, a man who didn't exist to the truest sense, and yet he stood there before me. We stared at each other all night. He never moved after that. Please just leave me alone, I pleaded to the guardian angel. He wouldn't let me go. Even though he never was able to touch me that night, something about it held me. It was a pressure in the air that never wanted to let go. The sun rose as it did. He moved to under my bed, and the genetic stuff of a nightly beast that it was. But the pressure didn't subside. I still couldn't speak, but it was there with me, just out of the sight. My mother called up the stairs. Scott, breakfast. I began to cry again. Please just come and get me, save me. He's in here with me, I whispered out the loudest I could. I came out scratchy. My voice was broken. I didn't have my own words. I stole them as they passed my lips. Maybe if I jumped, I could jump as far as I could towards the door. I can make it, I thought. I can do this, I said to the tear stream. I stood up off the mattress with the whole of my back firmly pressed against the wall. I took the running start and leap as far as my legs could take me. As I landed, the arms of a large adult man shot out from under my bed. His hands grasped my ankles firmly with a strength that was excruciating. I screamed. I finally was able to scream. For all that was worth, I let it out from the depths of me, and those muscular, hairy arms began to pull. My mother hit the stairs with panic. My legs were pulled in up to my knees when it let go. It let go because of her, to leave me bawling on the floor. There's nothing there, she tried to assure me. My ankles were bruised and aching. There was nothing that she could say to ease me. She brought me a bed that went all the way to the floor. No room for my angel to hide, but he kept watching over me for many years. I wish that this was the end of my story. I wish that I had imagined it all, or that it was only me. I made him angry, but noticed him though, and he wanted to take me. There was no way that it was ready to give up, and it was going to try to take others before it would all finally end. I really do hope that it ended now. It's almost 2 a.m. though. I guess that I'll call this part 1. There should be 3 more parts, and I hope I'll have nothing new to say of it after that. There is something there under the bed for some children. I wish it was in the closet or under a bed for my son, but it wasn't, so shy with him. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, the way that they was telling the story was like a book. You know what I mean? It felt like they was telling it like a story.
Yeah, also the fact I don't know, you obviously didn't see my face, but if they're watching the podcast they would.
Yeah.
When it said a hand came out from under the bed, my face was just there like,
Yeah, because
petrified.
That's like the childhood fear that I'm pretty sure everyone probably had.
I still have.
Yeah. I mean, I don't because my bed doesn't have a gap. But yeah, if I was
Mine doesn't, but like.
Yeah, if I was.
So.
Well, yeah, but if I had a bed with a gap in it, it's just a general fear that I think everyone would probably still have. Like, it definitely crosses your mind of like, oh, what if someone was under my bed?
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely something that crosses the mind. But yeah, I understand why they say that most people don't believe them, or they wouldn't be shocked if no one believed them. I found it hard to believe only because of how they was telling the story. Like, it was literally like it was a storybook. But I'm not going to say I don't believe them because it does happen. It sounds like there was something evil, I'm going to say probably demonic, there to take him. Or to harm him, and not literally take him, but you know what I mean? Like, the way that he was trying to leave and it was grabbing him by the ankles. You know what I mean? It's just... It doesn't sound nice. It doesn't sound like a nice...
Also, charging at him? I'm sorry. If I saw something... What is wrong with my... If I...
Charging and also hitting the bed with force?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I would probably pass out.
Yeah, like... It definitely sounds terrifying. I would say the only reason why people probably wouldn't believe it is because it's a very unique story, and also because of the way it was being told. But I'm not going to sit here and say if I believe them or not. That is not my right.
Yeah.
That is not what I'm here for. I'm here to discuss what I think of it, and what I think of it is that is
terrifying.
Terrifying. Terrifying. There is a part 2. I won't read that in this podcast. I'll read it in the next episode. Keep you on your toes a little bit as well. Why not? To that story. But thank you all so much for listening or watching to this episode. Please remember to subscribe if you are watching on YouTube, or follow if you're listening on Spotify, and leave a 5-star review if you would like to help us get out there even more. Thank you all again for watching, and we hope to see you all in the next podcast episode. Bye.
Bye.